Hi, I'm James Connor, and welcome to Inspired by Their Stories, the Pulte Family Charitable Foundation's monthly podcast. Welcome to Inspired by Their Stories. I'm so glad you joined us for this episode. It's a beautiful spring day here at the Pulte Family Charitable Foundation, and I'm happy to announce that we've officially published our 2025 annual report. You can find it posted on our website. The theme of this year's report is faith, and when you flip through the pages, I hope you are inspired by all the stories of faith in action. One of those stories is the creation of a prayer for world peace, and today we'll be talking with Rabbi Jack Bemporad, somebody who knows a little bit about this prayer. Rabbi Jack Bemporad is the founder and director of the nonprofit Center for Interreligious Understanding, which aims to bring people of all faiths together to promote dialogue, respect, and theological understanding of the common foundations of the world's religions. He was also a personal friend of our founder, Bill Pulte. Both were members of the prayer group that collectively wrote a universal prayer for world peace. Rabbi Jack, welcome to the podcast. And Rabbi Jack, how did you first meet Bill?
Oh, well, what happened was that he actually, was very close to Clark Durant. And he actually called Clark and said to Clark, I have something I want to show you. And can you come and have lunch with me? And so Clark immediately went there. And he had on one of these notepads, these yellow notepads, a prayer that he had written. And the prayer really was a prayer for reconciliation and harmony and peace. And he said, "What do you think of this prayer?" And he said, Clark said, "Yeah, oh, I think this is fine. But look, I have a friend whose main work is prayer. Maybe you'd want to come and meet him." And he said, "Yes." So what they did is they called Doug Coe, and Doug immediately invited them to, where he is, where he at his office. And Doug said, "Yes, it's a good prayer, but I think that I would like to work on it a bit." So what happened was that he started working on it, and then he decided to call others to help him. So he called me, he called Janie Jeffries. I think he called a bunch of people, and then we reworked the prayer until it was a kind of a prayer that all of us could agree to. And Bill was very pleased with it, I must say. But from the very beginning, there was a fundamental difference as to how we felt the prayer should be used. And that was something that divided us. I'll tell you in what way, okay?
Okay.
Bill and I was on the side of saying the prayer should be universalized. By that, I mean that it should not be just limited to Christians. And because Bill specifically felt that this was a prayer that should be a reconciliation prayer. And then I'll tell you something about a more private, couple of more private conversations that we had.
Sure.
It shouldn't be just for Christians. In fact, the proof of the matter is when Clark and he went and met with the evangelicals rejected the prayer. They said, "You've got the Lord's Prayer. What do you need this for?" I mean, it was a kind of this is you're adding to something that the Bible has without their realizing that the prayer itself, you can't get a clearer expression of what the Bible actually demands of us than that prayer. And I will show that I've been working a lot on this commentary that I'm writing on this prayer, which I'm going to send out to everybody so that they will have a context of how to really understand it in light of biblical quotes, New Testament quotes, and others. So what happened was that he and I were on the side of making the prayer more available to other religions because our very first experiences was that, yeah, it's a wonderful prayer for Christians. But for example, friends that Bill had in the Jewish community said, "Look, Bill, we can't say this prayer." And Muslims that Doug got, to read it, the Muslim said, "We can't say this prayer." We can't say that Jesus is the one unique figure in the world that has taught prayer
Mhm.
and as the main one, and the others are just sort of secondary. So Bill felt that we had to write a prayer for not just Christians, but Jews, Muslims, and so forth. And that's why I came up really with ultimately three versions, but two versions mainly. One is with Jesus, and the other, it simply just says, in the spirit of all teachers of peace, who
Yes.
inspire the many faith traditions. Okay. Now, he also sent me some stuff that he felt should be used for Buddhists and Hindus. I may have it in my files. I just sold my house and my files are just all over the place. I'm sure I can find it. But in any case, so he and I felt that it should be just, and can't be just for Christians. In light of the fact that the one time he gave it to evangelicals, it was rejected.
Yeah.
No other group that I have sent this prayer in 21 languages has rejected it. So I think that we were right. On the other hand, Doug and Clark and Janie and Larry and the rest of them felt that, no, if we say the prayer every Tuesday morning, which we did for years, that just because there's a quote in the New Testament that says that if two or three gather together, that does miracles. But in any case, in any case, so we stuck to our guns. And really, he was very encouraging of my trying to universalize the prayer. And that's what I've been doing. But what really changed me, as I say that he changed my life, is certain individual conversations that I had with him. Uh, let's start with Bill for a minute, okay? Um, he was the kind of person who was really selfless in the sense that if he saw that another person had a goal or a need or a desire, he literally went out of his way to find out, well, what is it that you're doing? What is it that gives you a sense of fulfillment? What is it that you feel demands your efforts? And so a number of times he would say to me, Jack, what exactly are you doing? What is your work? And I told him, look, my work is interreligious dialogue. And I said, I see it as a process of healing between religions because too much of what our elements and even the leaders of our respective religions, they have no real appreciation or of the best elements of other religions.
Right.
And so I said, what I'm trying to do is to help religions understand the other in a way that they've never been able to understand them because it's always, I'm right, you're wrong. Look, the first person to clearly say that, and I had an audience with him in 1960, was John the 23rd. He said, and that's what Vatican II was all about. As I reflect on, my past and my experiences, I see not only that we're right, but there are elements in other religions that are right too. And we can't take the position I'm right and you're wrong. And the only way you can be right is to then convert to my religion, or at least be such so that we can tolerate you. And I said, even worse than that, we have to protect ourselves from the leaders of these religions about what they say about their own religions.
Yes.
Because they're people, like evangelicals. Look at the ultra orthodox in Israel. They're destroying the country. You see what I'm saying? And so, and I said, Judaism has tried, because it's been a minority religions to more comprehend the other, but even Judaism, I'm right and you're wrong. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
And I think we have to educate one another. And he said, well, that's a very noble thing because that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And I said, really, in what way? He says, I see prayer as a form of healing. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, and I don't think he said this to anyone else because he said, I'm sharing with you something that is very private. And I said, "Look, you don't have to share it if it's private. I mean, I'm not, you know." No, I said, "I want to discuss it with you because I think you would understand what I'm saying." I've been brought up Catholic, and I think that I'm a very pious Catholic in the sense that I do the best that I can to help the Catholic Church and to embody Catholic teaching. But let me tell you clearly, Jack, and you're probably one of the few people that I can say this to. The Trinity, the God of the prayer book, is much too abstract for me. It's the God that's out there. It's the God that I can't relate. Uh, and it's only in prayer that I can relate to this God as my God.
Mhm.
That in prayer, the God of theology, the God of the cosmos, which is vast, immense, we're nothing but a speck in this vast universe. Only in prayer do I really feel my closeness to God. It is only in prayer do I feel that I'm in the presence of a reality that I can't lie to. I'm in the presence of a reality that demands the best of me,
Mhm.
a reality that I can somehow make demands of because I think that they're for the best interests of everyone. And I have prayed so much for peace and reconciliation. And in fact, if I don't have it, excuse me, I think that it must be somewhere. Maybe it's in Doug Coe's files because I think it was given to him. Um, this original prayer was a prayer of reconciliation. It's a peace prayer. And he really said to me things that really I thought were really clear. He says, the God that I say my God to in prayer is not this abstract, universal, external, theological God. It may be right. He's not denying that the Catholic theology isn't right.
Mhm.
But what he was saying is it doesn't speak to me inwardly. I feel that this connects me to something higher, to something real, that I can appeal to, that I can be completely honest to, and that can make demands on me that I can't shirk.
It's
I really did. I found it totally astonishing because this is not the Bill. When he walked into the room, he always had a joke. He always had a comment about the way the building is built. He would, for example, we used to go to Doug's place, and he says, the way this is built isn't the very best way. Look, you can do it better if you did. And he was giving advice on how to build things. This was not the Bill that I expected to hear these words from.
a lot of times we when at the foundation when we think about Bill, obviously I work with a lot of the family, so I get a lot of the family stories.
Sure.
And we also really think about Bill the businessman and the legacy that he leaves behind and everything like that. And we kind of lionize him. And I think this story and thinking about or learning about how he viewed prayer and the intimacy of that and the that true almost cosmic connection that you have with a greater
Yes.
power just gives such a different perspective and depth to him that a lot of other
But
people can't speak to. Yeah.
don't deny that in him. In many ways, look, I wanna read to you what I carry in my wallet, and I read it very frequently. It's what was passed out at the funeral,
Mhm.
in loving memory of Pulte, where it says, "God saw you getting tired, and the cure was not to be, so he put his arms around you and whispered, 'Come live with me.'" That's exactly what Bill was all about.
Mhm.
He had that feeling of intimacy with God.
Mhm.
He really did, and this captured it. That's the thing that's so funny, even though I don't think he told anybody there what he told me.
Yeah. I love that
And
story.
I
Thank
think
you for sharing that.
yeah, and I think largely what we had was, first of all, I mean, he read some of my stuff. Clark, when we went to Clark's office once, And Clark brought out a bunch of stuff that I had written, and he was astonished. He was very pleased, you know. And he said, you know, Jack, keep this work up, keep it going. Let's do it in all kinds of ways. Let's do it in languages. Let's do it for different faiths. And I must say that has impelled me to do that. And I will not, until I die, I'm going to continue with this. That's the kind of impact Bill had on me.
Yeah, I think that says it all. That's great.
I mean, he really did. He transformed me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just Kennan. You know, I mean, but he did that to everybody. Yeah, in his own quiet way, he actually lived a life of caring, of help, of service, of being involved with your life in a way where he didn't need anything. It wasn't that I'm doing this for you because I'm hoping eventually that you'll do something for me. There was none of that in him. He didn't need anything. So if he came to you as he did to me and said, "Look, how can I help you in your interreligious work?" I said, "Well, look what I'm doing," and then I explained it. But the reality is that he came to you totally free of any kind of inner motives of a self-centered quality. Nothing.
Yeah.
Uh, Look, I'm a full believer in prayer, and I've been working on this essay, which will be an introduction and a commentary to the peace prayer. And my hope is that when we send this together with the prayer, people will be much more encouraged to use it.
Yes.
And we're going to use it everywhere. And and hopefully you'll continue to do that. Look, James, we should work together on this because I've made this as a definite commitment, not just to Bill, but really because I think it's essential. On the other hand, I think we're entering a world which is very, very, very dangerous. And so I think this prayer is essential.
I mean, it's so timely in the last few weeks here, isn't it?
Right, right, right. So I hope I've answered the question that you originally wanted to ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time and letting me record you. And thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We live in a world that always seems to be on the brink of chaos. And though sometimes we may feel powerless, we can all pray for peace. Dear God, thank you for all creation. In the spirit of Jesus of Nazareth and all teachers of peace who inspire the many faith traditions, help me and all the people of the world learn how to replace hate, war, oppression, and division with love, peace, freedom, and reconciliation. Help me to embody your love in my relationships with my family and friends, strangers, even my enemies. I commit myself to the sacred task throughout my life, so let it be. That's a wrap on this episode of Inspired by Their Stories from the Pulte Family Charitable Foundation. If you're feeling inspired, please share this episode with a friend. Until next time, be good to each other and inspire others to do the same.